Second, can you just make sure that that is filming on that other side?
We're
Because do
getting
you know
nervous.
what? That is, I need to know that that is.
Great.
Yeah, but I don't want to like.
Let's not get carried away.
Yeah,
before
let's
we know.
not. Yeah, before we're sure, make sure that red button is
Yes,
going.
it's definitely fine.
Definitely filming.
Yeah.
Confirmed. Let's not.
You've got to check that things are recording, because if you've ever done a recording, done a video, done anything, and then you look at it and it's like blank,
That's
or
heartbreak.
it's proper heartbreak. That's like.
I've mourned videos.
Have you?
I've been grieving. Yeah, I've experienced all the phases of grieving over a YouTube video that I didn't record.
That was your best video.
Yeah, it could have been my magnum opus, and now
Oh
I'm
my
rather
god.
now.
You look really nervous. Are you alright?
I feel great. Is this your intimidation
Turn around.
tactic? You're like speak it into existence.
Yeah,
Asshole.
absolutely. So tell me a little bit about yourself. What do you do? 'Cause I know we're at the Hay Festival and you are flipping loving it. Oh my god, it is so hot right now. It's like, are you melting?
We're melting a little bit, but it's okay.
Yeah, proper toasty.
My name is Jack Edwards. you want my postcode as well? Government name?
No
National insurance
postcode.
number? My name is Jack
Sort
Edwards.
code, account
Yes.
number.
True, yeah. The little number on the back, CVC.
Yes.
My name is Jack Edwards, and I make content online all about books and reading and trying to get more people to fall in love with literature, especially as an adult, because I feel like there's that weird period where you went from being a child
Yeah.
who loved books
Yeah.
and you were so fascinated by all the possibilities that a book could have, and then you go to school and you're taught that adult books have to be very academic and you have to have super profound and abstract philosophies about all of these big ideas, and actually you can just read for fun and get lost in these amazing worlds. And so I try and bridge that gap and help people find their way back.
Oh,
So
excellent.
reading.
It sounds like adults are kind of almost like your focus. I know that you're interested in getting anybody to read, because books are flipping awesome. If you don't love books, there's something wrong. You really need to sort that out.
Fix that.
Fix that. It sounds like you focus quite a bit on adults. Is there a particular reason for that?
I would say it's probably like GCSE school age plus. 'Cause I
Right,
think
okay.
that's where I see it as like the cutoff for like where you start to be introduced to adult literature in a way that actually could make you lose the love for it. In a way that we don't have with music or films. Those are still always seen as leisure activities.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes we see books in a very academic way, especially adult literature, and we don't make time for reading as a result. Like we think of
Yeah.
film, watching a movie, listening to music as a relaxing thing.
Yes.
Where somehow sitting down and reading a book still feels very academic. And I
Yeah,
kinda wanna
that's true.
shift that narrative a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's important. So, when it comes to reading, what were you like at school when you were reading? What sort of books were you into?
Ooh, okay, so actually I have to say, I'm going to name drop here.
Oh my god.
So I read The Gruffalo, and
Oh, yes.
yesterday I met The Gruffalo, and I interviewed The Gruffalo. Granted, he didn't respond,
Oh my.
because he doesn't speak, but it was the most magical experience. I was actually a little bit starstruck. You know when you're like, I was like running out of questions. Firstly because he wasn't answering them, but secondly because I was like, this is my big opportunity with The Gruffalo. So that was probably my first favorite book. And then, there was also a book called The Man with a Plan.
Oh, okay.
That was like, my childhood favorite book. That's what my mum used to read to me like every night. Man with a Plan. But moving on from those, I got super into dystopia, and dystopia is actually, and really, The Hunger Games unlocked a whole world of literature for me, and I'm always so indebted to Suzanne Collins, who wrote The Hunger Games, for making me fall in love with literature.
Oh, really? Oh,
as an
wonderful.
adult, like young adult into adulthood, because loving her dystopias that were more aimed at a younger audience led me to 1984 by George Orwell, and We, which is like the original dystopia, which is Russian, Brave New World, The Handmaid's Tale, and that for me was like my pathway into reading, and then I kind of spread out from there.
wow.
And Margaret Atwood is also here. I'm gonna lose all chill.
We are going to rugby tackle each other for Margaret Atwood. The Handmaid's Tale.
Like, I'm
Oh my
I'm gonna be a
god.
shell of a person when she walks in through those doors.
When she comes through those doors, we're going to just, suddenly we're here, then we're going to be gone because we're going to be rugby tackling.
I think my fight or flight is going to get triggered out of like pure excitement, you know, and I'm worried I'm going to do flight.
Don't,
You know, I actually have to say,
will pin you down.
well, there is
You
like
will not
fight,
run.
flight, or I think the third one is freeze, and I think I don't think I'm a fight or flight. I'm a freeze. Yeah, I'm just gonna stare, just gonna be terrified.
And then she'll come up to you and be like, "Are you okay? Someone,
No, there's gonna be a book
999, door, quick, resuscitate."
coming soon. Next year's Margaret Atwood release is gonna be about a weird fan encounter at a book festival, kind of like Misery by Stephen King. But it's me. I'm
Excellent.
the problem.
Oh my god, that is too funny.
Yeah.
So, if you were going to encourage anybody who doesn't like reading, because I do encounter people sometimes who say they don't like reading or they don't read. I hate reading. I just find books boring. What book would you encourage them to read? Where would you get them to start?
Ooh, that's such a good question. You know, I think you really have to go, like, break it down to what your interests are. So, for example, a great example I would give is that if you consider yourself to be a numbers person, you're way more into studying maths than literature. There is this wonderful book called The Housekeeper and the Professor, which is all about the beauty of numbers. And I'm not even a maths person, and I was reading it like, you know, they made several points here. Like, maybe numbers are alright. And so I think it's about finding where your interests are reflected in literature. So if you're a history buff, could you read a book from another country where you get not just the history textbook version of those events, but also like the cultural, more local version of those events.
Okay.
So I was talking to someone earlier and saying, you know, when you read a history textbook, it's like millions of people in agricultural areas were affected by this government policy, right? And that's the storyline, and that's what you need to memorize for the history. Like, how many people were affected? How did it affect them? When you read fiction, you can go down to a more microscopic level and be like, okay, what about this one family?
Right.
What would this one family's experience of that event have been like? What were they eating? What were the smells surrounding them, like in the kitchen, for example? Or like, what was their house built of? What was the layout? Did they live with certain members of their family that maybe I don't personally live with, you know?
Yeah.
So I think you can get a really great sense of history through reading too, and culture. So really, I think it's about thinking about what your interests are, and then searching for fiction in those categories. If you're a big sports buff, are there books written about the arts of playing football or rugby or cricket or something, you know?
I think sometimes when it comes to reading a book, if you can relate to the characters, because often if you're looking at something, it's like you've got this whole picture, and none of it in there is kind of relatable to you, and it's like, yeah, it's all right. But if you can find a story, like you say, that you can relate to, something that relates to your interest, it's almost like you can zoom in, and now you're seeing the world, the environment of the book, the atmosphere, you're getting all the senses through these characters, and it just makes a massive difference.
Because it's so much more immersive.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Oh, absolutely.
And I would say that's kind of, I agree with you in terms of the gateway to literature. And then once you've got yourself out of that rut or reading slump, and you've got yourself back into because I think it's a muscle that you have to flex and stretch and maintain. So once that muscle is strong, then maybe you'll find it easier or more exciting to read books outside of your comfort zone, outside of your own experience, and that is an exercise in empathy, because you're then thinking about people who are not like you, who don't look and sound like you, they haven't had the same experiences as you, they're not, maybe they're interested in maths, and you're interested in literature, you know. So I think that's I would say that's a lesson in empathy and understanding other people's perspectives, other people's narratives and experiences, and cherishing the value.
Yeah, absolutely. Because one of the things I think is really important is if you're going to use books for entertainment, the other thing you can also do, if there's something about a particular group or community that you don't know anything about, I think it's worth picking up a book and reading it to understand a group, to understand people. So, for example, I read the book called We Can Do Better Than This, and I cannot remember the author's name. And it's a queer book, and what she did was she spoke to different people from the queer community. To understand what life is like for them, whether it's housing, accessing medication and treatment and stuff. And when you read this book, it's like 35 voices from the LGBT community. And it is absolutely brilliant because what it did is it taught me about elements of my community that I didn't understand. So when I think, okay, my queer circle is this, these are the people that I hang out with, these are the people I spend time with, you know, they're artists, they're creatives, etc. But there are other people I don't know about. And so when I read her book, it taught me a lot about trans people, taught me a lot about other gay people within the community, just the way their lives work, the way things don't work for them sometimes, whether it comes to accessing like medication, housing, counselling, work, because so many have lost their jobs because of their queerness. So when I read that book, We Can Do Better Than This, I found, oh my God, there's this whole world about the queer community that I'm a part of that I thought I understood, and actually I didn't. And so being able to pick up a book and read it to understand, so I'm teaching myself, I'm not expecting other people to teach me. I pick up the book and I read it, now I'm understanding things a bit more. So you can always use a book to educate yourself, not only just for entertainment, but about other people that you don't know anything about. So, you know, it's easier these days, I think, to get hold of a book and to teach yourself about other groups, other people.
I agree. I guess there's a certain arrogance in assuming that you understand the human condition, even within communities that you identify with.
Yeah.
You know, there will always be an experience that you haven't lived, and there will always be a nuance that you haven't yet recognized.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and so special and lucky for us that so many incredible people have distilled their life experience into like a palatable 200-page book, right? That's, we are so fortunate to, and even to live in a place where we have access to libraries where we can access this information for free, you know, like it's such a privilege and one that I never would take for granted. So, and thinking about it in those terms, I think is important.
Yeah. Before we finish, because I did kind of like rugby tackle you, didn't I?
Anytime.
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't the fight or flight thing. I was very fortunate actually. So that
I was just editing a video, you know. Should have been reading.
Oh, should have been reading. If you had to read one book for a year, what book would you read? You could only have this one book for a year.
You know, I'm going to pick one that I haven't yet read.
Okay.
But I already know that I will have this reaction to it. It's Babel by R.F. Kuang. We were just talking about her because I was telling you she is the most incredible speaker, and watching her talk at this festival is like watching a room full of people fall in love with her mind, because she is so eloquent and articulate about everything that's thrown at her.
Right.
And I know that Babel is this deeply textured novel in a reimagined Oxford, and it's all about the art of translation and language, identity, belonging. And I know that knowing her, I know that there's going to be so many layers to this book, which, you know, I think the book I've read more times than anything else is actually The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh my God.
And I still, every time I read that book, find so much more depth to it. And I think that Babel is probably one of those books too, where like each time you reread it, once you've done your initial reading and you've got like the plot done, then you can read it and appreciate the detail and the craft of her magnificence.
Oh, wonderful.
So I think it would be Babel. And I've actually been holding off from reading it because I just know I'm going to be obsessed with it. And it's almost because I know it's going to be good, I've been like putting off reading it.
So it's the book that if your house was on fire, that's the one you're going to rescue.
Oh, now that is maybe a different question, because I have this wonderful copy of Love in the Big City, which was translated by my friend Anton.
Oh, wonderful.
And I read my copy of it. I bought it in Korea, and then I've read it in Korea, like under the cherry blossom, and I've made so many annotations and notes in there, and then he signed it for me. And it's just like the most beautiful souvenir of that trip. And so I think actually, if I could save one book in my house, it might be that one.
Okay.
Because that means like so much to me. and the fact that a friend translated it,
Okay.
and is the reason I get to read something so special as that book. That book is really important.
Okay, now we know what book you need to get hold of and read.
Or if you want to like hold me to ransom, like if you want to be like a reward on this book, like if you want my whole bank account, steal that book from me, because I'll pay anything to have that back.
Oh, really?
Okay, let's not put that out. Let's not put that out into the universe.
Cut that bit. Yeah, let's not go there.
I'm joking.
Joking. Hello.
I wouldn't really say that about the real book I would do that for.
One last question. I said it was one last question, but what are you writing?
Ooh, I'm writing a novel, and that's all we'll say.
Yeah, we don't. When you're writing a book, it's funny when people ask you about, because I'm writing my own novel, and oh my god, and you just. When someone asks you about it, you say, yeah, because it's kind of like, don't ask me anything else, yeah, no more. You'll know when the time is right, when it comes.
When it's ready to be born.
Oh, that'd be lovely.
Then you'll see it. But for now, I mean, I honestly thought I'd lost my laptop yesterday, which is quite nerve-wracking because quite a lot of the novel is on my laptop.
Oh no!
And so I've, in the last like 24 hours, realised the value of backing things.
I'm sorry, 1 second. Are you telling me you've been writing your novel and you haven't been backing it up?
There's like some extracts on this laptop that are not backed up anywhere else, and they're just in my notes app. And when I thought I'd lost this laptop, I was like, well, I hope I remember what I wrote. I know. I'm backing it up tonight.
You are about to witness manslaughter. Always back up your book!
I know, that laptop is not leaving my side today.
Do you know
If
what?
you see me side-eyeing, it's the laptop. It's right by the door. I'm like, right, I'm gonna protect that with my life.
Do you know, I've got this, my novel at the moment is quite a big project, so I'm also currently doing some short stories, but there's over 200,000 words I've written so far, and I am telling you, I back up that puppy like, you know what, if the world is on fire, I'll be like, hold, I just need to back up my need to back up my book.
I need to literally take a leaf out of your book.
Yeah, do please.
Yeah, I'm going to. As soon as we wrap.
We are going to wrap up because somebody needs to back up.
I've got something to do.
We're wrapping up. It's a pleasure to speak to
Thanks
you.
so much
Thank
for
you very
having me.
much, darling.
I appreciate it. And the camera was recording.